From Everybody Studios, we're jumping off the pages of SouthPark magazine as we bring the stories to life that make up the art and soul of Charlotte. This is SouthPark Says with Krisha Chachra. Well, pull up, turn it up, and take a seat. Charlotte's food scene is having a moment in the national spotlight as the backdrop for season 23 of Bravo's Top Chef. Now the story behind some of the city's most celebrated restaurants is documented in a PBS series called Fork and Hammer, a look inside the decisions, risks, and relationships of some of Charlotte's most recognizable restaurateurs. This is episode 16 of SouthPark Says with Krisha Chachra. Joining me in the studio today is Chef Tonidandel and Jamie Brown, the team behind 6 Charlotte restaurants, 3 of which have been recognized and recommended by the 2026 Michelin Guide. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
This is
so
awesome. You're such a pro, Krisha. You nailed that. Like, wow.
It was just one take because I feel the good energy here with you guys.
Usually the thing that has to be redone is that you have to re-say his last name. Do you know what I mean? Most
right.
people cannot capture his last name.
Well, that's why I had to practice before. I was like, Tonidandel.
I struggle saying it, so that's great.
Wow. Well, it's definitely something that stands out, much like all of your restaurants. And let me get this straight. You have 6 restaurants, 1 more on the way. Mm-hmm. You have a documentary, Fork and Hammer. You have a podcast that publicizes the documentary after the first season called Jeff and Jamie Feed.
You've got it.
You've got a book. You've got 3 kids. I mean, do you guys need a nap?
He's always up for a nap.
I love taking an afternoon nap. I mean,
he's always
maybe
up for
we
a
should
nap.
just take one right now. That's the podcast right
would be
here.
Great.
This is what we need, like wellness and self-awareness. We just need the nap.
Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, how do you guys juggle it all?
I mean, it's our team. We have such an incredible team. It is, life's a team sport. Tonidandel Brown Restaurant Group is definitely a team sport, and we have 330 people, and everybody cares so much. People are trying to get better at their jobs every day. We're trying to get better as a restaurant group every day, and people come to work excited and ready to take on challenges, and it's great.
Now, your team has obviously slowly been built up, but do you think, and I was asking this to Jamie earlier, do you feel like after all the accolades that not only Charlotte has experienced, but your 6 restaurants, 1 on the way, do you feel like people are getting more attracted to wanting to be part of that team?
We always get a look. So if somebody moves here for the first time, very rarely will they just go take a job without coming and having a coffee or finding out what we're up to or what we have going on. So it's nice. It's not always a great fit, and maybe the timing's not quite right, but we always get that look, and that's great too, because if the timing's not right, maybe we can call them in a few months when things change and the job that they're looking for opens up.
Yeah.
But the talent pool in Charlotte is just growing tremendously because there's so many more great chefs here. And, you can see that with the Michelin Guide coming out, how there's multiple chefs throughout the city doing such a great job. And because of that, and I love thinking about our part in that Charlotte culinary ecosystem because we're a part of it. We've got 6, but there are some amazing restaurants out there that are not under our umbrella. We love Joe and Katie Kindred's restaurants, and Andreas Keffer's doing an incredible job over in Elizabeth, Sam Dominich, Kyle Johnson. There's so many, restaurateurs and chefs doing such a great job. And so that's just attracting more talent to this area. And it's just this virtuous cycle. And we're lucky to, as Jeff said, get a look from people when they do move down here.
Yes. And not only do you get a look, but you have been here, you're established. You've been here for many years, over a decade in this business, I would imagine. And I just want to ask you, why now? Why do you think that Charlotte is finally getting those accolades now?
Well, some of it's just the sheer support of the city through the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority. They have been tremendous supporters of the culinary scene. So you can see, for instance, like they were a big driver behind getting Michelin to this area, along with some other organizations. That's huge because it just really puts a spotlight on this city. They were also integral with a number of other partners to bring Top Chef to this area. Obviously Top Chef had to want to come. There had to be a compelling story here, but they loved what they saw and they came. And I think that kind of thing just helps broaden that culinary scene. So I think that's a lot of it, but it's also just the growth of this city. I mean, you look at South End and how dense it's becoming, and there's just so many young people moving here and businesses moving here. And that creates a climate wherein people want great food and they're willing to, spend money on homemade good ingredients that are put in a restaurant environment.
Yeah, the restaurants are changing, but the palate is also changing. Of
That's
town.
a good
you're right.
point.
And
Yeah,
so
people are demanding that. The consumers are they're more sophisticated in their choices.
for sure, and you can see that from the expectations at a cocktail bar here of what the scene is doing and how serious everybody is at all these bar programs and the prep that they do and the thought that goes into it. And you'll see the palate change of the customers and the palate change of the bartenders, and same thing with the chefs. So it's a give and take, and it takes a while. You throw something out and people might not be ready for it yet, and then it gets there.
But maybe they elevate and they meet you where you are, and you're also challenging them. I mean, it's a two-way street, right?
Yeah, we've been Chris, our executive chef at Lelia Hall, and I have been trying. We love this pairing of pimento cheese and kimchi.
Oh wow!
And it's just like our personal.
They've never
thing.
found a home for
And
it.
we've never found a home for it, and we've been working on it for 3 or 4 years, and everybody's kind of like, I don't get it. And finally, we think that we've changed a few things in our recipes, but we've gotten to the balance point, but we are confident enough that we're gonna do a pimento cheese and kimchi sandwich at the new Olivelli Deli. So that's like one thing that we're rolling out. I couldn't see us doing that 3 or 4 years ago, but I think people are ready for it now.
Right. So you're kind of you're actually raising the palate and the sophistication of the palate
We're
introducing
trying
new
to
flavors.
just throw a few things.
You got the Southern and the Korean, and it also speaks to the international crowd, I think, and the international flavoring palette, as you say. You have the words for it. Maybe I don't, but just kind of the international bend of the city and how they would demand and actually receive something like that.
Yes. So, I mean, so many young people, they come out of college, they're working in a professional environment. They've traveled places,
Right.
they've gone to huge cities, I think when we were just coming out of college, some people went abroad, but like now everyone goes
does.
abroad, right?
That's
so
true, the
you're
access.
getting that. Exactly. You're getting that access. And even as people get older, they have more disposable income to be able to go travel. And so you're getting those flavors and desire for those flavors back here at home.
That's a good point. We have more disposable income, and people have choices of where to spend it, and why not back into the economy, but also to try something new and to have a new experience in your own community.
That's right.
And that's important. So let's do a little bit of a rewinding. We'll do a little bit of rewinding here because I want to know exactly how this got started for you. I read somewhere you guys don't have any culinary training. Is that correct?
Right.
That
Geez,
is correct.
so embarrassing to say.
I mean, and what it does is that is actually really interesting because it speaks to the fact that you can excel and you can be very successful as an entrepreneur in an industry that you might not know anything about. How did that happen for you?
Yeah, we don't have a classroom culinary training, but I think we've both been passionate about food, and I especially have been extremely crazy passionate about food for 20 years. And
He's one of those
really,
people who gets a cookbook and he digs in and reads every recipe word for word, and then goes and makes some of the recipes.
You actually try the recipes. It's not just decoration for your shelf.
No,
but
yeah,
he loves to read them.
And I always recommend just try the recipe as is first, and then start your own iterations.
Okay.
After that. But I love devouring cookbooks. We love travel. We love exploring new restaurants, doing all that stuff. But yeah, I was always the kind of person that if I was making dinner, I would make fresh pasta. I wouldn't go buy a box of pasta. So I always like to.
And it would drive me crazy because I'd say just use the box of pasta.
Right.
Yeah.
This
But
is easy.
it takes just as much time to make it homemade. And I'm like,
Right.
it does not. And I'll wash the pots, but fine. It's a very different thing. But that's how he always was.
That's amazing. Okay, so I don't know. You definitely do need a nap. Jeff. I mean, if you're making your own pasta, you're like, I guess you're actually going forth with your own like culinary empire with Jamie. I mean, nap time. Okay.
Okay.
So you get
I
a
just
break.
got a free pass.
You got a pass.
You
Great.
do. But 20 years ago, that's when you all got married, and you kind of said, peace, corporate job. We're taking a hiatus and we're going to Europe. Like, what made you do that?
It was a pretty scary thing. I mean, at the time, it actually didn't feel scary because this was in 2007. So economy is just going gangbusters. Everything's going great. He's working for a NASCAR team at the time. Wow. And I was at Lance Snack Foods, very Charlotte. Both had great jobs and great potential for, career growth and everything. But we looked at each other and we're like, I don't know what we're supposed to do, but we're supposed to do something different. So I think we both had a drive to work for ourselves, though we didn't know what it was. So we crazily quit our jobs, put our stuff in storage, and went off to see the world. Part of that was because I wanted to write. I've always loved to write, so I wanted to take the time to do that and just travel and see the world. And we didn't have children at the time. Yeah. So we spent about 8 months overseas, mostly through Europe, but also in Asia as well, in Japan and Korea. And just settled in to see the world. I mean, we just saw so many different things, and we had just our backpacks with us and a roller bag, and that's
the way we used to do it when we were younger.
And we didn't have smartphones.
That's right.
So you had maps.
You had to document everything in your head. It made you sharp, and your memory became sharper because of it.
Right. It's so true. But when we were traveling, we just kept coming back to the idea of wouldn't it be fun if we could open a restaurant?
Wow.
So that was kind of the
so
genesis
fun,
of
isn't it?
It's so
And then six restaurants later, is it still fun?
You know what? We love doing what we do. We love creating concepts. We're hopeful that anytime we create something, it just makes a joyful place and makes other people happy, because it does make us happy to make them. We try to be super thoughtful about and maniacal perhaps about the little details and, just anything we can do to make it a better experience or create more hospitality or provide something special or unique for our guests.
What do you think is your driving vision, your driving force behind the concepts that you've created? Because they're all different.
They're all different. I mean, if you look at some of the bigger spaces, it's more about bringing something to life in an old space. It helps tell that story. So I think that's where that comes in. And then you get to our little deli concept where we just in February closed down Raining Donuts, which is a donut shop that we operated for 7 years.
Yes.
And we decided to close it down. We have had a lot of problems with the machine over there.
Right.
And so we're in the processes of opening a new concept over there called Olivelli Deli.
Okay.
And it's a little deli and soft serve shop. So we'll have sandwiches with homemade bread, and we're bringing in imported meats from Italy and really nicely sourced chicken and turkey as well. So that it has these healthful components, and you feel good about what you're eating.
Wow, it's kind of like a commissary of sorts.
Yes, but it's a walk-up window.
It's a walk-up window.
Just a walk-up window.
Very nice.
I think you'll find the word fun too, like in all of our concepts. Where Supperland, I think we were trying to create the most fun steakhouse, and a steakhouse that had a huge fire grill and windows and some of those things, and it like kind of evokes a lot of emotion when you walk into the building. And same with our little walk-up window. We're trying to make a really fun sandwich shop.
I'll tell you what is fun. Your speakeasy down at the bottom of Supperland.
That's fun too.
That's a good time. I've been there several times.
So much fun. We're now offering dinner service down there too, which is totally different. Usually we were just doing those speakeasy experiences.
Right, they're themed.
That's right, exactly.
Right.
Now we've cut back on those a little bit, and we're doing 3 to 4 a year.
Yeah.
But then you can otherwise just reserve a seat down in the speakeasy and have dinner.
Wow.
On other
okay,
nights.
So it's just another environment to sit in one of your experiences.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're really known for, I know that you talked about how these concepts are very different across the board, but one of your signatures, I think, that most people sort of, I think, associate with you is that you take old buildings and repurpose them. So the church in Plaza Midwood for Supperland, the church and restaurant for Lilia Hall.
Lilia Hall, yeah.
Lilia Hall. And then you basically picked up an old grocery store in South End and brought it into Noda for your next concept. Right, Wyatt. Is it called Wyatt Supermart?
Wyatt Superfine. It's
Superfine.
Superfine. Yes, it's in Dilworth. So what's pretty crazy is that this was a 1903 grocery store that sat there to serve the Atherton Mill Village. So a lot of people know the Atherton Shops over on South Boulevard. That used to be a textile mill, just like there was over in the Noda neighborhood as well, because Charlotte was sprinkled with textile mills in the early part of the 1900s. But this grocery store was meant to serve Dilworth, Wilmore, Atherton, and it was built in 1903. It served as a grocery store for over 50 years, and it was run by a gentleman named Pleasant Wyatt. And that's where we came up with the name Wyatt's. And then it's Superfine, which is a level of grain milling that you can bring grains down to make certain breads and pastas.
Oh, wow.
So it'll allow us to not put forth breads and pastas like Italian ones, but more in the storyline of it having been a grocery store so that you would get fresh grains there and make breads and pastas from that. So,
but this is and I love that. I love the nod to the history to keep Pleasant Wyatt alive. Yeah. But the Leaper Wyatt building, was a kind of a dilapidated grocery store, right? And you did move it from South End to Dilworth. I'm sorry, not Noda.
It's okay.
But wouldn't it just be easier to put a new building right there next to Lilia Hall?
Some would say. I don't know. I struggle if you just gave me a lawn or a blank lot and said, "Hey, go build your restaurant there." I think I would struggle a little bit with that.
Really?
So it's neat that you have a story.
I love having the story and some of the constraints. I like it being really hard and having to
this is going to be
be
probably the most difficult project we've ever done. Is why it's Superfine. It's pretty wild because in preparing the lot to receive the building, we built a foundation that will be able to house our full kitchen. Okay. And then we moved the building 750 feet. So literally it gets picked up, it rolls down the street and gets set on this foundation. And that was 2 stories of the building. And then we're building a solarium on top. But each floor is only 1,500 square feet. So we have to get super creative with the menu offering just because logistically getting food around to the floors and making sure that it's hot and high quality is something we really have to be careful of to make sure we're putting forth our best food that we can. So we're working a lot on the logistics of what we do on the first floor, what we do on the second floor, what we do on the solarium, just to make sure we can get food around properly.
And some of these, I know you both travel a lot, so you know this, and in Europe and even some older cities like New Orleans, we were just there a few days ago. That's what happens. These restaurants have 2-3 floors, and I think they have to be really intentional about the menu because, because what you're offering also has to have, an element of quality to it.
It sure does.
It sure needs to, right?
Yes.
So that is who does your menus?
So Jeff actually runs the culinary across all of our restaurants.
Okay.
So but then thankfully we have an incredible group of chefs that, some chefs are amazing at, creating grilled items. Some are fantastic at breads and pastas. Some are, great at marinades. They have so many different talents. So it's great. We kind of take a team approach. I think a lot of times when you're making a menu, you're relying just upon one chef. And we love the collaboration and being able to give everybody feedback and try to put forth the best menu that our team can.
Right. You kind of challenge them to bring out their best.
And that falls on that guy there to try to make that happen.
Well, if you're making your own pasta, you definitely know what's up then. You set the standard right there.
Yeah, I don't know if I always know what's up, but it's a good process. I think we have a lot of systems in place and we try real hard.
Right.
We fail a lot too along the way. You create a dish and you're just constantly iterating and iterating. Some you get it right off the bat, but most of them you're having to try over and over again to nail it.
And it is nice. I think that the chef that we interviewed here, Chef Medrano, who is now at Lilia Hall.
Yes, he's our CDC at Lilia Hall.
Right.
That's right.
He was talking about how he brings in his influences from his native Peru. And it's really great that you guys are open to that. You're open to culinary influences from all over the world to see how it can also be part of your menu for
sure.
Charlotte.
And that's such a good example. Leluya Hall, the flavor profile there versus somewhere like Supperland, here they are both in churches, but they are very, very different from one another. Supperland, you're going to find a lot of Southern, hearty, warm touches. Leluya Hall is a very bright and fresh menu. We rely a lot on inspiration from the coastal Americas. So having those little tiny Peruvian influences in there, or some of them are more coastal, but it just creates such a bright, fresh menu, and it's just really fun for them to
You
play
probably
with.
see a lot of overlap too that you didn't even know worked in terms of compliments too.
Yeah, there's a lot of skill where we take something that we worked on for years at Crepe Cellar, which is now closed, but we still have that in our repertoire. So when a chef's trying to work on a new dish, we, sometimes sit back and say, hey, remember we used to make that, and we have that skill in our repertoire, and we can just, bring it back out.
That's great. You keep the institutional knowledge on the
That's
table
right.
for sure. Okay, so Crepe Cellar was your first venture and is now wherever Andalo is.
Correct.
You went from 11 tables to 20, as I remember you saying. And we will talk about that because that is the name of your book, your new book, 11 Tables. So, but before we get into that, I do want to ask, okay, first of all, can you rattle off all of the restaurants that you have?
Sure. And you want an alphabetical order?
No, we can't do
backwards?
that. We're not that quick.
You can just tell me from the ones that you remember onward. Maybe
there we
oldest
go.
to newest.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, in no order whatsoever, we have Everandolo, our pasta place in Italian spot in Noda. Then 2 doors down, we have Haberdish, which is our southern fried chicken and cocktails. And then next door to Everandolo, we have Growler's Poorhouse, our craft beer spot. And then we're opening Olivelli Deli, our new deli that is just a walk-up window with a few picnic tables. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll have that open. And then as we travel to Plaza Midwood, we go to Supperland with the steakhouse, Southern Steakhouse with the huge fire grill. And then over in our neck of the woods in Dilworth, South End, we have Leluya Hall. And next to that will be next year Wyatt Superfine.
Wow. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite? What's your go-to?
No, we don't. It's like children.
It's like children.
No,
Your
love
children have a favorite?
Yeah, different items,
Right.
that they love from each
Okay.
one. Yes, they still are very mad that we closed down Crepe Cellar too, but
Right. I
know.
would be too.
yeah,
If I was a 10-year-old.
they're okay. They're doing just fine.
Okay. And then what about, like you were mentioning too, outside, since we're on the topic of favorites, like you were mentioning you have other restaurant groups, obviously, that you indulge in. Do you have a go-to place in Charlotte that you, the Tonidandel Brown family,
That we go to.
go?
Geez. Well, for breakfast, breakfast sometimes we'll walk over to Snooze. I love a lunch at like 300 East. That's right there, because it's just so simple. For date night, sometimes we go to Albertine or Custom Shop. What other ones would you list?
Sometimes
And Restaurant Constance is a lovely place.
Yeah, we like to go to some new places, and sometimes we visit some of our old chefs that have
That's right.
ventured on, and
That's
so we
nice
always
to support them.
we always like that activity. And
Yeah, I love, that's one of my favorite things, honestly, is to see the chefs that have worked with us and we can maintain a relationship of some kind, even though, like for instance, we have Bernie, who's now over at Chapter 6. He worked with us for many years at Crepe Cellar, and then over at Supperland. He's now at Chapter 6, which is John Dressler's restaurant. And he's actually going to be a part in a nonprofit dinner we're having coming up at Supperland called Giving Kitchen. It's a Charlotte family meal, and it's a collaboration between a bunch of chefs, and he'll be there. And that stuff makes me so happy, whether they're bartenders or chefs, just to be able to keep as many of those relationships as we can, and have, just leaving people in a positive way.
Sure. And it also speaks to the city that we have enough restaurants and we have enough of a cluster of good restaurants that your chefs or your former employees can actually stay in the city and continue on with their own profession. So that speaks a lot to the city as well. My guests today are Tonidandel and Jamie Brown, who are featured in the new PBS series Fork, and Hammer. So let's talk about that. Why make a series on all of the things that you are doing to put together these 6 restaurants and then one? I mean, you have enough to do in just renovating these buildings. Why document it?
Well, we were approached, it's now been a couple years ago, by Susie Films, which is a production company here in Charlotte. It's run by Scott Galloway. And he came to us and said, hey, I think you guys have a story here that we could do a docu-follow on and pitch it out there and see if a network will take it. So he pitched it out to a number of different networks, and it landed really well over at PBS. And we're actually, we work with SCE TV, so it's a South Carolina station, and it is distributed throughout the country. And it's been super fun to put together. I think it really dives into our team story, but it talks, it's about food, it's about restaurants, it's about teamwork, it's about entrepreneurship and taking risks. And I think it's really a lot of fun. One of the things we were most concerned about going into, creating a program on TV was getting into drama of people. Mm-hmm. We don't like people drama. I want to literally just take care of our people and be there for them and try to create an environment where they can grow and thrive. And I know it's not perfect. Restaurants can never be perfect. Nothing is, but I'm hopeful we can create something like that helps as many people along as we can. And so we didn't want to have all the drama.
Yeah, so this is not one of those
and so PBS allows for that. The storytelling.
That's right. Not like one of those reality shows where there's a contest and there's a drama going on, a lot of strategy, but more of just daylighting your everyday lives in this process.
We quickly learned too through the process that if they wanted to film the summer soiree, our kind of end of summer bounty dinner, and they were filming kind of the planning for it, that we actually had to do the planning for it.
You had to do it yourselves.
We quickly learned that we need to get work done while the cameras are there. Right. And so it's not that big of a burden because we are actually working. We're actually doing what we need to do. Sometimes we have an extra cut or take or whatever, but
it's a real world view of what you're going in real time. Yeah. Perfect. So it's a 10-part series, right? It's got 10 episodes.
First seasons, 10 episodes. They're all 26 minutes long. Okay. And they kind of just follow the journey of us opening Lelia Hall, and that involved moving the building, kind of some fun, dinners that we did during the summer and introducing all the characters. So now that we kind of have that behind us, we're digging in season 2, and
there's a season 2
doing some
what can we
things.
expect in season 2?
Gosh, there's a few things that we've done. They followed us around on New Year's Eve, so the celebrations around the holidays. I think that's a lot of fun. And then we had gone on a trip to Italy last summer, so there's a little bit of that threaded in, along with some brunch opening and just the nuances behind opening a brunch service, which can be a very chaotic thing for a restaurant team. I think there's also some surprises that'll be coming up. They're following the opening of the deli as well.
Oh, good.
And that programming will be launching in January of 2027.
Wow.
So it's exciting. But
one of the cool things too about this show is, although it's aired thousands of times throughout the country, all the time on PBS, it is also being released on our YouTube channel.
Yes, we just got permission a couple months ago to launch it. So it just launched this week.
Really?
Episode 1 launched yesterday, and we're going to launch them every other week. So people can
that's
watch
why I
them
could
and
see
stream
it.
So there's a little more, more access,
more access.
as it's so as people are watching things differently. I think PBS is being supportive and understanding that maybe you're not sitting there, at your TV, and a lot of people don't have DVRs anymore.
That's right. So they can't tape it.
That's right.
Back in my generation, we taped things on a VHS recorder. So that's wonderful. So they can stream it now. And are all 10 episodes available on YouTube?
They will be coming out. So they're released every other week, starting this week. And then on off weeks, we're going to show some bonus clips and behind the scenes moments and all that kind of stuff.
Mostly probably making fun of me.
I mean, I saw you with the clapper. I saw you. I actually was trying to find one around here so we could actually do it. So you feel right at home.
Seems to be a meme around here. Find that guy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we were talking earlier about how my daughter loves musical theater. I was like, well, you know what? Jeff can come and actually start the program that way. So for all of her shows.
Yes.
But that's wonderful. So you have the series coming out, the first season. Dropping throughout the months for season 1, and then season 2 will be in January of next year. Wonderful. It's been an amazing year for you.
It's been a lot of change and a lot of excitement, and it's now I feel like there's a little bit of a reprieve while we wait for a lot of more big things to come.
Okay, so one of the big things is this book right here. Yes. I mean, 11 tables. So tell me a little bit about the inspiration behind this, and this is your baby.
That's right. This is what I mean. That's why, as you can see, it says just says. Let's see, Jamie A. Brown with Jeff Tonidandel. That's right. He got them with. He needed to be on there because so many of these stories are our stories, and I did a lot of interviews with him, or trying to dig into his childhood or stories he remembers, or trying to make sure that I document the journey that we've had in the most appropriate way and most truthful way too. So he was a big part of that, but we don't let Jeff write,
No, I don't think anybody wants to finish reading my email, let alone a book I write. So we'll let Jamie write the book. She did an awesome job.
You write.
It'll be fine.
Yes.
So yes, the name 11 Tables is built off of our journey of starting with 11 tables and then how we've grown over the years. And truly, I wanted to write it because one, I love to write. I started this about 3 years ago and just wanted to dive into our entrepreneurial journey and talk about things that worked, things that didn't work, failures that we had along the way, how we scraped ourselves back up, picked up and kept moving. And, I had somebody ask me, it says on there, a wild ride through food, failure, and figuring it out. And he said, I don't really see the failure. And I'm like, it's funny how failure is such it's a word that can go a lot of directions. I think when you're in the moment and if you stay down, it is failure. But you can also look at something that could be seen as failure and you just find a new way around it. So like, is closing a restaurant failure? I think most people would say yes, that's failing, right? Because you closed a restaurant. That's Crepe Cellar. We closed Crepe Cellar. But it's what you do in the aftermath with the pieces that are there, how you pick them up and how you put them together to create something anew. And sometimes it's, putting a new restaurant in a space. Sometimes it's moving forward in as positive a way as you can. And, we failed sometimes at projects we started that were never able to come to fruition. And we lost a lot of money doing things like that. But I think, people would look at us and be like, you've never failed. Everything's always fine. Oh, no, we failed. We failed plenty of times.
We make lots of mistakes.
Lots of mistakes. But it's about what you do with them and how you move forward. And I think that's really the reason why we are where we are now and why we see more positive things in the future is just because we know we'll fail. We know we'll make mistakes, but we're going to keep working through.
It's two people that had zero restaurant experience opening a restaurant. It's like we've made plenty of mistakes.
Right.
Over here.
And nowadays, I think a lot of people are afraid of daylighting those mistakes because of social media. Everything is so raw and it can be embarrassing. But there's also this sort of, I think, need for vulnerability to understand that human experience. When you see people that have made mistakes but have triumphed after it, there's an inspiration in that. And what a great inspiration to put this down on paper for your kids as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's really wonderful because there are a lot of people out there struggling to find their passion, their thing that they want to dedicate their life to. And it is very encouraging to know that there are bumps along the way, but life is long enough that you can smooth those out.
That's right. And I think it's looking at those bumps as it's not actually something there to trip you up. It's actually there to help you. You just don't see it in that moment. That is actually there to make you stronger or quicker or more adroit or more adaptable or just a better person inside so that you can become the person that you want to be.
I love that. I love that. Well, where can we get this book?
You can buy anywhere you buy your books or on Amazon. It's also available at Barnes & Noble in SouthPark.
Perfect. Well, we love that. We love that. And when did the book come out?
Just earlier this year.
Okay.
So February,
Wow.
March.
You've been giving birth to a lot of projects this year. This is like,
Yes, it's been a big year.
I mean, what is the next step? I almost I brace myself to ask that question because I know it's going to be something, that it's also going to be just another explosion to your already amazing empire. But what is next for you all?
So, I mean, we're having a blast filming season 2 right now. So that's kind of, what we're doing. And then Wyatt Superfine is a fun project, a really complicated, hard project. And then we're also, it's in the book, we're building a commissary as well. So we have a commissary space in the South End that hopefully will come online next year. And that's going to really explode our operations and how we run everything and making us look at every detail of how things are prepped, how we're going to move things around between restaurants, how we share items, how we share people. So that is kind of structurally and internally a huge project. A lot of changes are going to happen because of that.
Right.
But I think we're going to get better. We're going to be more consistent. We're going to be more efficient. And we'll also have a lot more breadth that we can offer places because, one night the chef at Supperland might say, hey, I want to do a pasta special. And it's going to be super easy for the pasta guy that's making pasta all day forever Andalo to say, what do you need? What do you want?
Wow.
And
a lot of crossover
and send that over. Or somebody might want a tartare and we're cutting steaks at Lelia Hall that day. So, being able to have some Wagyu scraps for something great. So we have a ton of potential there, but it's going to take a lot to wrap our heads around everything.
But before he does these 2 big projects, we have to open that deli, which is why he's got to be hard pressed on making soft serve.
Right, that's right.
That is like the big
amazing.
focus this week is making soft serve, so we can get that.
So I did step 1. I worked out for 2 hours today, so now I can
I know you played tennis right before you came here.
So now I can go.
So you have a clear
But
head.
he has the challenge to make soft serve with real eggs and real milk.
Wow.
So that's what he's
different
working on right
flavors
now.
or just like the traditional vanilla soft
So
serve?
we only have room for 2 flavors and a twist.
Okay.
So it definitely 100% vanilla.
Okay.
And then we'll probably have chocolate if I can get that worked out. It might be easier to do a fruit flavor. But
he's telling me this right now
I know,
for the first time, by the
Good.
way.
Well, you heard it
It's
first
going
on
to be
South
chocolate.
Says.
But-
It's
but
going to
the-
be chocolate.
the
I'll come for
plan-
the chocolate.
Yeah, the plan is for it to be chocolate and,
Chocolate's a
and
fruit.
vanilla. And
My favorite.
yeah, it is so scientific. And obviously there's a big breadth of information out there about how to make ice cream.
Right.
But the soft serve technique and information is a little smaller. But I think we've sorted through all of that. I've actually been having fun, obviously working with the chefs with it, but I've been working with Colleen a lot, our head mixologist.
Yeah, who is award-winning mixologist.
On that, she's really, really good with emulsifiers and some of those processes. And so we've been able to kind of talk through a lot of the mouthfeel and some of the flavor components that aren't popping right and those kind of things. She's got a great understanding of that. So we hung out for a little while yesterday after a batch and talked through it. And I think we're very, very close.
Who knew that this was a science, right? I mean, it's almost like the new brew scene of Charlotte. The soft serve scene is almost like the new brew scene. That's where you should start.
It's so hard because a lot of the soft serve mixes that you buy, they just have
the powdery,
so many.
Yeah.
They have so many things in them, and so we're really trying to emulsify things as much as possible
Keep
with
it
egg
clean.
with egg yolks and see what happens there, and then just try to keep it to as few of the emulsifiers that you have. So we'll have a little touch of guar gum in there. And
that's really interesting because I have had several cocktails at your restaurants that have the egg white in it.
Yeah.
And it is like a very elevated taste. So I would imagine
sure, her egg white is actually a vegan egg white. So she kind of does that all chemically.
Okay.
With extracts and those kind of things.
Fava beans.
And so she she worked really hard to come up with that. And then it was funny because she had all these bartenders calling her a few months ago when egg prices started to hit the $1, $2 an egg thing. Everybody's like, so how do I do this egg white replacement? We're going to do a vegan one too.
That's right. Of course, everyone wanted to get on the bandwagon, price sensitive. That's really interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. And what about this idea? I mean, you have so much knowledge. It just came to me. You have so much knowledge to share. You talked about a commissary where, things can be exchanged. Do you guys have an educational element to all this knowledge where people can, come to, obviously reading the book, but do you have any lectures, for instance, that people could come and learn about what you have learned?
Right.
That would be really interesting.
Although we have sat on numerous panels and gone to different speaking engagements or networking events, and we're open to that kind of thing too, because I think we both are passionate about passing along knowledge and education and how important that is.
And I think our podcast, depending on the podcast, it leans pretty educational. It leans also, if you're opening a restaurant, I think you can get a lot of tidbits of how to run a restaurant, how to open a restaurant, all those things. In Jamie's book, obviously I think there's a lot of good, tidbits in there as well. But yes, we try to be open about those things, and learning is a big part of what we do. It's in our DNA. We're learning every day. Everybody on our team is, learning every day. And we try to support our team when there's something that they're really, really interested in and they want to learn. We will fly them there. We will, get them in that class and try to increase our knowledge base.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is definitely displayed in your end product. So you should be very proud of that. Why don't you let the listeners know where they can find your podcast? They can find your documentary, and we've already talked about the book, but are there any social media handles, or what is the address?
Yeah, so the podcast is Jeff and Jamie Feed. You can find it on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And then Fork and Hammer is available on pbs.org if you have PBS Passport. Or now that we're releasing it on YouTube, you can find it on the Susie Films YouTube channel, which is our producer's channel. And they'll be released every other week going forward for the next 20 weeks.
That's so exciting. That's so exciting. And congratulations again for being mentioned in the Michelin Guide. That's a huge deal.
Thank you. It really is. We feel so proud of that. And I think probably the most joyful thing about it is how proud our chefs are of it. So now we've got these red plaques outside of Ever Andalo and Supperland and Haberdish. And I don't know, but we're hopeful that Leilui Hall gets a good look this year too.
That's right. Well, it was new when it came out.
It was new last year. That's right.
Right. So what, and just final thought, I mean, what has something like the Michelin Guide coming to Charlotte done for the entire community, your industry in Charlotte?
I mean, for a while, everybody was talking about it, and anything to put restaurants top of mind and also show that our restaurants are on par with other cities and that we deserve the same accolades that, everybody else is. So I think it just shows that we're deserving, which I like.
Yes, and I think one of the big things is that maybe Charlotteans don't realize how important restaurants are to this economy, not just in terms of jobs that are provided, but also in terms of attracting people to this city for tourism and for, hospitality and going to games and all this. Like, those restaurants are just an integral part of people's experiences when they come to Charlotte.
Absolutely.
And most
it's
of that
big economic draw.
Most of the money spent in restaurants, especially in our restaurants, it goes back out, right? It goes to pay for the food. It goes to pay for the lights. It pays for the 330 employees that we have.
Restaurants are so low margin that pretty much everything coming in is going right back out the door.
And in the meantime, you create a quality of life that goes unmatched in our city. So you should be very proud. Thank you so much, Jeff and Jamie, for being here. And to learn more about the culinary scene in Charlotte, check out SouthPark Magazine at southparkmagazine.com. Thanks for listening.